Okay, in today's video, I'll be talking about ways that you can save gas on your car, because right now gas prices are pretty high, especially where I live. A gallon of gas costs anywhere from $6 to $6.85 in some places I've seen. So there's ways you can save gas when you're driving, and before you drive you should always check to see if your tires have the optimal pressure, because if your tire pressures are kind of like very low, then that causes your car to burn more gas, and your car also feels heavier when you're driving. So that's the first thing you should check when you drive, because I always check the tire pressure of my car about every 1 month. But in my car there's a sensor that tells me how much the tire pressure actually is, and the newer cars have that. So always check that, and if it's low, keep your tires inflated. And I'll be talking about highway gas mileage, city gas mileage. These are two different things. So when you drive in the highway, usually get 25 to 29% gas mileage compared to city gas mileage. And for city gas mileage is 25 to 29% worse than highway gas mileage. So basically, on my car I get about 35 miles highway and 25 miles city. Some cars get as good as 30 miles, 28 to 30 miles city, and about 38 to 39 miles highway. So that's roughly about 25 to 29%. And so if you want to find out gas mileage on your car, you just find out the miles that you've driven. All cars have like an odometer, which you can set to see how many miles you drove, and from point A to point B. And when you go to the gas station, you could see how many gallons it took to fill up your car. So that's how you find the gas mileage on your car, the real gas mileage, not the theoretical value the manufacturer set. So let's say you drove 50 miles and you put 2 gallons of gas in your car. That's gas mileage is equal to miles driven, 50 miles here, divided by 2 gallons of gas consumed. So 25 miles per gallon. So price per mile is equal to the price paid for gas divided by the distance driven. So for example, cost to fill up was $85, and the miles driven was 327 miles. So the price of gas was, let's say, $6.85. In order to find that, price per mile is price paid for gas, $85, and distance I drove was 327 miles. So that's 26 cents per mile, and the units come out correctly, dollars per mile. So theoretically my car gets 25 miles to the gallon. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to calculate the gas mileage in relation to the theoretical value of my gas mileage. So to do that, it's the rate, which is the dollar amount divided by gallons, times I get 25 miles to the gallon. So gallons divided by 25 miles. So the reason I do this is because I want to make sure all the units come out correctly. If you ever took chemistry, this is called, or any higher science classes, it's called a dimensional analysis. But it could apply to all things as well. And 685 divided by gallons, gallons divided by 25, so gallons is canceled out, and you're left with the units of dollars per mile. So 685 divided by 25 gallons. So theoretically, I should be getting 27.4 cents per mile, or $0.274 per mile. So that's what I should be getting. So let's say it was 26 cents per mile, and I want to find out what my gas mileage is in relation to what it should be, what it is in relation to this price. So what is the gas mileage for 029? This time, this is a theoretical thing, but I want to find it for 26 cents per mile. So the price of gas is $6.85 per gallon, and the miles per dollar amount per mile is 0.26. And what happens here is the dollar amount canceled, and I get units of miles per gallon. So see how much that is. If that was true. I'd be getting 26.34 miles per gallon, which is pretty good. It's just a theoretical number. It's not real. But in reality, your gas mileage, what you get in relation to filling up your tank and the miles you've driven, should be less than what the stated gas mileage is. It usually is in reality. So in this case, let's say if you were getting 29.3 cents per mile, then at $6.85, it'd be 685 divided by 0.293. That's 23.4 cents, 4 miles per gallon. So units cancel out here, dollar amount. So we're left with miles per gallon. Okay, 23.3 miles per gallon. Usually, when I calculate this for my car, for city, I get anywhere from 20 to 22 miles per gallon. The theoretical value is 25 miles per gallon, but it's usually less for some reason. And that's usually the case for most people. In the highway, get about maybe 32 miles per gallon. And as your car gets older, the gas mileage does get worse with time. So that's another thing you have to consider. So when you're driving, the optimal speed is about 55 miles per hour. That's 88 kilometers per hour. That's the optimal speed you should be driving to get the best gas mileage on the highway for your car. Where I live, the speed limit is 65 miles per hour on the highway. And you see people speeding on the highway. They're going like anywhere from 75 to like 85 miles an hour. That's a waste of gas, because the faster you go, basically the drag, there's drag in your, when you're speeding up, there's drag, that coefficient goes up by 29%. So your car becomes less efficient as you accelerate faster and faster. And basically, acceleration is basically the change in velocity. So the units is, for velocity, it would be like meters, distance, for velocity. And the unit is distance divided by time. So it could be meters per second, or or it could be kilometers per hour, miles per hour, or something like that. That'd be the speed, basically. And the acceleration is basically a change in velocity. And the units for that is distance divided by time squared. So it could be meters per second squared, or it could be miles per hour squared, or something like that. That's how the units would be. So acceleration is basically the change in velocity, the change in this. And velocity is the change in, if you span a distance of, let's say, 10 meters in 10 minutes, then your rate would be 1 meter per minute. So it'd be a rate like that for distance. Velocity, that is, a change in distance in relation to time. So basically, usually, if your speed limit is 65, I guess you could leave it between 55 and 60 miles per hour when you're driving on the highway. And when you're going off the off-ramp, when you have to slow down, you don't have to punch the brakes in your car or press the brakes. What you could do is you could kind of like not press the accelerator, because there's always friction on the road. That's what causes you to stop. So the friction on the road will cause your speed to decelerate, but you keep it at the optimum speed and then decelerate, because when you're accelerating too fast and then you just keep your foot off the gas pedal, you don't want to crash into something. So keep that in mind. If your speed is very high, then you do have to brake a little bit, but if your speed is like not so fast, you could just take your foot off the accelerator and then it should just start decelerating, and you just go down the off ramp like that. And you could apply some brakes, but if you brake, you're losing energy. Just keep that in mind. So the more you brake, the more energy you're losing. So basically, when you're driving on, let's say, city streets, some people they accelerate really fast, right, on the city streets, and then they come to a full stop at like 50 feet from the stoplight, right? That's a huge waste of energy, because you just used all that energy to get to like a high speed, like 55 miles, right? And then you brake within 55 feet, right? So you're braking really hard and then you're accelerating really fast. So when you, like I said, when you brake, you lose energy. So when you accelerate fast, you're using a lot of energy as well. So that would be a big loss or waste in energy to do that. So what I typically do when I drive is I just press the accelerator to get to a certain speed, let's say like 40 miles an hour. And then when the stop sign is at like 200 or 300 feet, I just keep my foot off the accelerator and the car just slows down. And I just apply my brakes just a little bit to come to a full stop. So I lost very little energy compared to some person who was like driving like a maniac at like trying to go to 50 miles on the city streets and then just braking like abruptly. So you gain in two things. You save gas mileage, and you save the wear and tear on your brake pads, because people who accelerate fast and then stop really hard, are wasting energy, and they're wearing down their brake pads. That's how it is. So that's all you have to really do. These simple things you can do to save to increase the gas mileage in your car. But keep in mind, your gas mileage is never going to be better than what the manufacturer um, su- suggested gas mileage is. So if they say it's 25 miles on the street or city streets, it's not going to be better than that. You're not going to get better than 25 miles per gallon. Or if they say if it's 38 miles per gallon on the highway, you're not going to get better than that number. But your goal would be to get as close to that ideal gas mileage and not below that. So if you get better gas mileage, you're saving money. You could be saving a couple of cents or something, but it's not going to be a couple of cents per mile. But it's not going to be like a big difference. But if you're living on a tight budget, I guess every little bit helps. But if you're driving like a maniac, and if you were, then I guess you'd be saving a lot more money, because like going very fast and then braking hard and all that stuff does use more energy. So when you're like in an airplane or something, on a long trip or something on an airplane, there's something called optimal cruise speed or something. So this is the speed that you move at, which uses least amount of fuel at the speed that you're going, basically. And you keep it at that speed, and then that would save you gas, aviation fuel, versus like flying as fast as as a jet fighter or something, which would waste a lot more fuel, because there's always drag and friction and stuff like that, which exists. So it exists on the road surface. It exists in your engine and pistons and stuff. It could only move so fast because there's friction between the parts and stuff like that. So that's all you have to keep in mind. So anyways, thanks if you have any thoughts, leave it in the comment section. Thanks for watching by Ace1.